My name is Jorre Luther,
And my name is Logan Kreizel.
and in this video we'll be breaking down and analyzing the proper technique when completing a power clean.
Objectives of the skill are to be as explosive as possible from the given starting position and to develop a sense of strength that trains fast twitch muscle fibers while also working on the cognitive ability to understand what your body is doing within a weight room setting. To begin, we will define what the power clean is. The National Strength and Conditioning Association defines the power clean to be similar to that of the Olympic snatch, but involves two significant differences. First, you don't finish the lift with the bar overhead, instead you finish at the shoulders. Secondly, your grip is approximately shoulder width apart, whereas the Olympic snatch has a much wider grip. The power clean is a lift that begins at the floor, and an individual will use their whole body to lift the weight off the ground and ultimately find themselves from the shoulders down to be underneath the bar at its final position. The power clean is a weightlifting exercise that is considered to be a full body movement, meaning it requires all major muscle groups, both anterior and posterior, to be active at some point in time during one repetition of the completed movement. A set of warm-up exercises that can be done prior to this lift will be shown next. First, we have the squat-specific stretch using an anchor, which will be a squat rack. This stretch specifically targets your hip flexors as well as your glutes and lumbar spine. This exercise allows benefits to prepare the body to sit deep at the bottom of the catch, which we will go over later in the video. The next warm-up exercise is the kettlebell hip opening stretch. This stretch also targets the hip flexor muscles as well as dorsiflexion of the ankle. Hip mobility is very important with the power clean, and it is essential that you warm these muscles up properly before lifting any type of heavy weight. With this exercise, you can feel a deeper stretch by leaning your center of mass towards the foot that is pointed directly perpendicular to where you are facing. The next movement is an ankle joint stretch. This stretch primarily focuses on the dorsiflexion of your ankle joint by shifting the weight of your knee over your toes. The band helps pull back the ankle, allowing for a quality stretch in the posterior side of the ankle joint. Looking at warm-up exercises for the upper body now, the one primary warm-up exercise we focus on is an empty barbell hold. This warm-up exercise is good to get a cognitive understanding of the final position you want to be at once one full repetition is completed. With this exercise, you want to focus on driving the elbows forward as well as up towards the ceiling. This exercise focuses on the flexion of the shoulder joint as well as the elbow joint, and the wrist joint is extended, allowing the barbell to rest nicely on the anterior deltoid muscle. The grip that we will be utilizing in this video is known as the hook grip. As we progress into the fundamentals of this movement, let's first look at why this exercise might be beneficial. Starting with lighter weight in order to develop the flexibility that is necessary in your elbows and wrists is important when training this exercise. Lighter weights are incredibly important when it comes to lifting heavy weights, especially for the Olympic lifts such as the power clean, clean and jerk, and the overhead snatch. If you are a beginner at this exercise, there is never anything wrong with finding an experienced individual, specifically a strength coach or a very experienced weightlifter, to explain the main focus and expectations while completing this exercise.
To fully break down this exercise, let's begin by breaking down the various stages of the power clean. The first phase is known as the first pull. Step 1 in this phase, you will begin by first standing behind the barbell. Next, you will want to keep your feet parallel at hip width while your shins are touching the bar. Step 2 of this phase includes making sure that your arms are straight. Next, you will move your body along the sagittal plane while flexion occurs in the hips and knees, and you lower your back into a neutral position. You want to keep a slight bend in the knees and lean your body forward. Push your hips back and grip the bar with an overhand pronated position with an overhand grip on the bar. During step 3 of this phase, you will want to lift your chest while looking straight ahead. Lower the hips slightly below shoulder level. Step 4 includes keeping your elbows locked as you move your body weight onto your heels. During the final step in this phase, you will want to keep the weight close to your body and begin to fully extend the knees and back. As the knees begin to extend, the primary muscle groups that will be activated are the four muscles associated with the quadriceps. These are the four muscles that are involved with the extension of the knee joint and the tibiofemoral joint. Next, raise your chest and begin to extend and drive the hips. As you begin this movement, the primary muscle group that will begin to activate are your glutes, as they play an essential role in the extension of the hip joint. This will begin to lift the bar off the floor along the frontal plane, and this will end once the bar is raised to just above the knees.
The second phase is known as the transition phase. This occurs right after the bar passes the top of the knee and moves into the position for the second pull in phase 3. The first step in phase 2 is to continue to look forward while remaining in a neutral position. Keep your arms straight with the shoulders right over the bar and pull the bar in an upward motion until it is around your mid-thigh. Again, the primary muscle groups that are being used during this motion are the quadriceps, glutes, and a little bit of help from the hamstrings during hip extension. Step 2. Now once your body is positioned on your heels, prepare to explode off the ground and extend through the hips.
The next phase involved in the power clean is known as the second pull. In the first step of this phase, you will continue to explode forward as you fully extend the hips. Extend the knees to a straightened position. Next, plantar flex the ankle the same way that you would when you are jumping. As previously mentioned, during this phase of the full extension of the hips, this is mainly caused by activation of the glutes. The full extension of the knee is the result of the four muscles involved in the quadriceps. Finally, the gastrocnemius is responsible for the plantar flexion of the ankle. Step 2 begins as the bar moves upward along the frontal plane. Quickly shrug the shoulders while the arms remain straight. This shrugging of the shoulders is done by the activation of the trapezius muscle. Throughout this movement, the shoulder girdle will quickly undergo upward rotation. During the final step of this phase, your arms will begin to bend and raising of the elbows will happen as flexion occurs at the elbow joint, as well as horizontal abduction of the shoulder joint and upward rotation of the shoulder girdle. Flexion at the elbow joint will be from subtle activation of the biceps. As for the horizontal abduction, this is caused by the deltoids. The upward rotation of the shoulder girdle is from continued use of the trapezius muscle as the shoulders are still in the shrug position. Throughout this whole movement, you will want to emphasize and make sure that the barbell remains close to the body. During this movement, you should not be lifting with your arms, as they act more of anchors for the momentum of the bar.
Now we look at phase 4, the catch. Step 1 is when your body has fully extended and you pull yourself underneath the bar. You continue to look forward, at the same time land in a quarter to a half of a squat. As your body moves back into this squatting position, activation of the hamstrings will cause flexion to again occur at the knees. Slight activation of various hip flexor muscles, such as the psoas major and iliacus, will cause hip flexion. Finally, the anterior tibialis will help to assist in dorsiflexion to occur at the ankle joint. Step 2. While underneath the bar, rotate elbows under the bar. As this happens, the anterior portion of the delts will allow for extension to occur at both the shoulder joint and the elbow joint. Once your arms are underneath the bar, release tension in your grip so that the wrist can roll upward and move into an extended position. Catch the bar in the front of your shoulders. Once the bar is caught, extension should happen at the knee as you use the quadriceps muscles group. Hip joint extension will also occur through the activation of the glutes as you stand up and complete the half or quarter squat.
Since we've broken down and analyzed the biomechanical movements of the power clean, we can now take a closer look at factors that may influence a successful attempt versus an unsuccessful attempt. To do this, we can use a study that was done by Marquette University. The primary purpose of their study was to determine what biomechanical factors played a role in a successful power clean attempt versus an unsuccessful power clean attempt. The way that they did this was by digitizing the position of the barbell being lifted so that they were able to then calculate velocity, acceleration, and acceleration vectors of the barbell. They found that unsuccessful attempts primarily occur due to differences in the second pull phase. They discovered that these unsuccessful lifts typically included greater peak forward barbell displacement, lower backward barbell velocities, and lower resultant acceleration angles during the second pull phase. They concluded that strength and conditioning coaches should put more emphasis into the limited forward motion of the barbell during the second pull phase, as well as instruct these athletes to generate more forces in the backward direction during this phase in order to lift greater amounts of weight. Now that we have a better understanding of what the PowerClean is and how to complete a successful lift, we can now take a better look at some of the benefits that this lift has on the human body. Due to the fact that this lift has similar components to a deadlift, it is great for strengthening your posterior chain, your glutes, hamstrings, calves, and both the lower and upper back. It is also an all-body exercise. According to the Sports Medicine Clinic, this lift activates nearly 200 different muscles in the human body, which create an anabolic surge that drives muscle growth and stimulates fat burning. This lift can also help develop and increase muscle fiber recruitment throughout the body since it is such an explosive lift. This lift is great for athletes that make split-second movements or decisions. Examples of this would be sprinters, football players, shot putters, and volleyball players.
Now, let's take a look at poor mechanics as well as a few following clips. Try and identify what Logan is doing incorrectly with technique. In the first clip, you notice that instead of dropping under the bar to catch it, he tries to catch the weight at a higher point by splitting his feet apart. This is dangerous and could lead to knee valgus and likely, if heavy enough, significant knee damage. Looking at the next clip, you can notice that he doesn't begin the lift with the bar tight to his shins. Since the bar is further away from his body at the beginning of the lift, his percentage for error increases, causing him to have to catch the bar further back, forcing him to take a step backwards to stabilize himself. Lastly, in this final clip, he doesn't catch the bar with high elbows, which can and will lead to wrist injury, with the potentiality of being very severe. You also might have noticed that he didn't drop under the bar and did a slight split in order to catch the barbell. In conclusion, the PowerClean is an exercise with many different beneficial factors if done properly with solid mechanics. Thank you for watching. Now please enjoy this example of a proper celebration given by Logan.